We are a brand new muscle car, and we build resto mods. We're talking cars that look like a classic, that drive like a brand new car. Mustangs are our specialty, and we're setting out to build the ultimate 67 Fastback.
I took a quick minute, wasn't too hard. I cut the top off of this muffler so we could see the inside of it. What we have here is your typical 3-chamber muffler, 1 chamber, 2 chamber, 3 chambers. These work pretty good on naturally aspirated engines. What happens is the exhaust comes in, goes through the first chamber, gets split. There's a little vacuum created in here which pulls the exhaust through the muffler and out the outlet. These work just fine on naturally aspirated cars. Keith from BM Mufflers, he has brought some exhaust over to put on this car here with a supercharger. Hey Keith, how you doing?
Hey, good.
So tell me what you brought.
So we've got a couple of examples of how we build an exhaust system on most vehicles, especially V8s, especially naturally aspirated, supercharged performance applications. I wanted to kind of give an example of a properly built X-pipe versus just a chamber that kind of has a look of an X-pipe.
Right.
We're going to properly scavenge or vacuum the exhaust out of the engine versus forcing the exhaust into a big chamber, and then it has to get forced out of that chamber, kind of like a highway exiting into a parking lot,
right,
and then having to re-enter the highway again.
So I see you've got different lengths, different sizes. Does length, size, all that, does that matter?
All that does. So if you're running long tube headers, for example, versus short tube headers, long tubes give you better low end torque, better mid-range, better top end. It's better for a naturally aspirated or non-supercharged, non-turbocharged application.
Okay.
Where supercharged or turbocharged, you might as well have whatever fits the easiest and the simplest, because why spend all that time and effort? The supercharger is making the power. The exhaust can't make power because the supercharger already did it all.
So on the mufflers, I see you got a short one and a long one, and there are different diameters. Does that have an effect as well?
It does, based on flow, based on horsepower, based on sound. The smaller muffler is going to be more compact. It's where you don't care if it's super loud, you're just trying to clean up the sound just a little bit. Cheap, easy, actually really good and effective. Versus if you need it to be street friendly, you got your wife coming in the car with you or whatever it is, we'll build the muffler by hand from scratch in order to control the sound better.
So you brought your car, it's got a high RPM small block, long tubes, all this stuff on it.
So as everybody knows, older classic Mustangs, it's hard to find long tube headers that actually fit.
Right.
So I took some off-the-shelf headers, cut them up a little bit to make them tri-Y into the correct timing, better low-end torque, better sound. We're going into a 3-inch collector, into a 2.5-inch exhaust with the X-pipe, coming back into our smaller resonators because they're compact. This car, for me and my family, is just for fun, so we really wanted it loud. Out into classic Shelby-style tailpipe exiting before the rear axle.
I bet this thing does sound really good.
Sounds really good. It's a really strong system, 14-gauge stainless steel mandrel bend. It fits, it doesn't break when you hit speed bumps and things, since it's a lowered car.
It's an issue for sure, yeah. So we're going to do something a little bit different with a supercharged car with your parts. It'll be a little bit different than the NA system.
Yep, so instead of a long tube header, we're going to go with a short tube header for ease of fitment. The supercharger makes the power anyway, so you don't necessarily need a long tube header on the car. We'll still do the X-pipe. We'll do bigger mufflers because the customer preference was to have a little bit quieter of a car. And then we'll go up and over the rear axle and out straight out the back instead of coming out the sides. Again, customer preference.
Right, right. I can't wait to hear it. I think it's going to sound awesome.
It'll sound good, yes sir.
Brand new muscle car Mustang RestoMod, presented by Classic Industries. And brought to you by Old Air Products, cooling the classics. Classic Industries, your one-stop shop for all restoration and performance parts and accessories. And by Dirty Deeds Industries, performance without drone.
The car is finally ready to go to dyno. We have all of the pieces on it now. The supercharger head unit is in its final location. The charge tube runs through the radiator support, through the air-to-air intercooler. This is basically a radiator for the air charge. So what this does is this extracts the heat out of it, as the air goes across it while the car is moving. Then it continues back to the radiator support up to the bypass valve. What the bypass valve does is while the engine is idling, it bypasses all the boost coming out of the supercharger. When you accelerate, this closes, the boost comes the rest of the way up to the tube, through the throttle body, EFI, and into the engine. Now, when you let off the throttle, the bypass valve opens to relieve that pressure, and that's that whooshing sound that you normally hear. It sounds so cool. This car has a 6-speed transmission in it as well, which is much bigger than the original 4-speed that came in it, or a lot of 5-speeds. So what we had to do, we had to raise the tunnel, we had to custom fit the carpet, we had to trim down the console to fit. In front of the console here, we have our boost gauge, AFR gauge, that's the button for the electric parking brake, really cool SST shifter, we have our cup holders. Over here is the instrument cluster. We have our temp, mile per hour, fuel, tachometer, oil pressure. And here we have a retro sound radio. It looks bone stock, but it has all the internals in it, top of the line. You can Bluetooth to your phone to this, you can plug in your MP3 player, it can hold multiple stations, AM, FM, Sirius, Pandora, anything you want, you can get through this radio. So we have an amazing looking car, we have a great interior, and we have rockin' tunes.
When people order a muscle car, whether it's a restoration or a build, they expect performance, they expect power. And in this shop, we have the room for a dyno. So we have a dyno, we do tuning, we make sure this thing will function, be safe, and be a lot of fun.
What's changed over time since the 60s up until now, even though this car still has a small block Windsor in it, there's a ton of new technology that's incorporated in this. Cylinder head design, piston design, hydraulic roller camshaft, electronic fuel injection, the ProCharger that's on this car, that's all new tech stuff. Back in the day, they had similar stuff, but they couldn't touch the kind of power we're making now. In the 60s and 70s, on 110 octane or 100 octane, they might make around 350, 400 to the crank. We're making 500 to the wheel on 91 pump gas with this car here.
They're all around 200.
Okay.
Spark issues or what?
Yeah, spark issue on the big end. We may have to change to a different ignition box, maybe.
Yeah, even you can even hear the spark while it's steady state. You can hear it.
So we've been tightening the gap up to eliminate spark blowout, and I did a little research just now. We're using the Holley Hyperspark distributor and ignition box and coil. Unfortunately, it's only rated at 450 horsepower. We just made 500, basically 500 to the wheels, so we're making over 600 crankshaft horsepower. I believe we're exceeding the limitations of the Holley Hyperspark ignition system. This project, this application should have a hotter ignition system to keep the spark lit in this engine. But we've tightened the gap up really tight. This time we closed the spark plug up to 12 thousandths of an inch to try to crutch it and try and get this thing to make a good solid pull.
My car is a 1969 Boss 429. I've owned it for about 12 years, and I bought it from a friend that I went to high school with that owned it for 40 years. It was sold about 18 miles from where I live now. Definitely a local car. Interesting story. I was in Florida. I got a call from another mutual friend of ours that my friend had gotten served with divorce papers. He said the first guy that got there with the money was going to get the cars. So I made some phone calls and made it all happen. It was completely apart. Everything was there. Every piece was there. No rust at all. Dickie and Matt Dills, father and son team in Lilburn, Georgia, were the two men that did the restoration of the car, 5.5-year restoration. I'm proud of it, but they did a great job. That was one of my main goals, is to have a complete matching numbers, original car with no modifications. Everything about it is presented exactly the way it came from the factory. Well, one thing about this one, it's the rarest color that Ford made that year. It's so unique and it's such a special car. It was the only reason it was ever built by Ford was to compete with the Chrysler Hemi in NASCAR, and that appealed to me, just the history. I've got a small classic car museum back in Williamston, South Carolina, where I'm from, and I've got 9 cars right now. It's got 20 miles on it, and that's on trailers and off trailers into car shows. I don't drive it out on the street. I would love to take it out and drive it. It's just too valuable to take a chance, but if there was no way that I could hurt it or cause any problems to it, this is by far the one I'd want to drive.
All right, so on that pass there, we ran it all the way up. We ran into a belt issue. This happens sometimes in the tuning process. That's why we always keep extra belts on hand. We're probably gonna go to the next size smaller belt, see if we can get a little more tension on it, and make another pass. When I saw all the green come out, I knew what it was.
Location, we need to close this up, but this being short shouldn't flex as much, right? 5/8 left.
All right, JP, we got the belt issue taken care of, I believe. We moved the upper pulley, put a longer belt on it. Should be good to go. You ready to make a Hail Mary pull?
Yes, sir.
What do you think it's going to make?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's gonna make 500 plus this time. I think we're gonna break it.
Think so?
Yeah.
I'd be happy with that. I'd be totally happy with that.
I'd say north of 500.
All right, well, let's see what happens.
All right. Yeah, it didn't break 500, 496.
496.2, I think that's close enough. I'm not gonna worry about 4. And that's on pump 91, that's not even 93.
No, E85, it'd make another 80 more horsepower.
Oh yeah, for sure. No doubt about that.
That's where you
Either
need.
way, this thing's gonna be a riot to drive.
Oh yeah.
It'll be fun.
Beautiful car, makes a lot of power.
Yes, it is.
brand new muscle car Mustang RestoMod, presented by Classic Industries and brought to you by Summit Racing Equipment. Build it with Summit Racing Equipment, the world's speed shop. Chris Alston's Chassis Works, the home of higher technology. And by Roadrunner Performance, high performance hoses and fittings.
I'm Matt Anderson, Curator of Transportation here at the Henry Ford. RestoMods are just an absolutely fascinating kind of trend we've seen in car collecting over the last couple of decades. You know, this idea that you can get a classic car, have the looks of a car of, say, the mid-1960s, but have more of the modern conveniences and, frankly, modern reliability with components that you can get today. So we see the Mustang as being a particularly popular target for those kind of RestoMods because people just love that timeless look of the first-generation Mustang. But, you know, they want a little more comfort. They want a little more convenience. You know, a big change we've seen in the car collecting community is how popular automatic transmission cars have become, because people just aren't learning to drive manual transmissions anymore. So if you can, you know, put in an automatic gearbox, they certainly were available on the original Mustang. So it was a 3-speed unit, nothing particularly exciting in terms of performance. You know, you can put a higher speed automatic gearbox in now, maybe a dual clutch unit if you wanted. Sky's the limit, whatever you want, but you get more performance out of that car while maintaining that original 60s look and that vintage vibe.
These custom scratch builds can take 6 months, 8 months, a year, depending on what the customer chooses as far as options, features. But one of the most gratifying things for us, obviously, is when the car's done and we get to give it to the customer and see the look on their face. The first time they sit in it, start it up, drive it, that's the ultimate reward. I mean, we become very attached to these cars when they're here, but it is really cool to see them fly the nest. Hi, guys.
Hey!
You guys got to make it. You ready to see this thing?
Yeah, let's see it.
All right.
Yes. Wow, look at that. Yes. Wow.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Walk around, check it out. What do you think?
Wow.
This particular customer, this is his first all-new classic car, and the look on his face is priceless.
I like those wheels, man. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, the chrome wheels really look good on this car.
Yeah, I tried to talk JB out of that, but he went with it, and I love it.
I love it.
Now I love it. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Good call.
Well, thank you. I think they look really good.
Yeah.
Here, you want to pop the hood? Yeah, look under the hood.
That is a mean-looking monster.
Probably need WD-3 of that. Woo! Yeah, she's a monster, man, I'm telling you.
500 wheel horsepower. Woo! Wow.
And he said it's probably got some more, so.
Yeah, got a little more room to grow.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Do not floor it first thing.
Boy, look at all the room around that supercharger.
Right? How'd you do that?
Special secret.
Yeah. Secret. Wow, that is awesome.
That was all Richard and JW.
Man, great work.
This was really a group effort. We put a lot of heart, a lot of soul in this. We know that how much this thing is going to mean to you. We know definitely how much it means to us building it, and we just wanted to give you something that was just really, really good, really nice, really fun. I'm telling you,
it's a rocket.
It's a rocket.
Wow.
Sexy rocket.
Yeah, you'll find out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Ford Mustang.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
As soon as you start it up, it just starts.
Is that all right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It just whistles at you.
At Brandon Musk Car, we build classic cars that look old and drive new. And obviously, the most exciting step of the process is giving the customer his car. And the first thing we do after that is we hop in it and we go for a drive.
Go ahead.
Pretty good, huh?
Wow. We could always nickname it Tweety Bird.
There you go. There you go.
She's a whistling. She's a singing.
Well, what do you think? You guys want to go for a ride?
Sure.
Okay.
Good.
Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I know it. Thing runs awesome.
Does it?
Yeah, it really does.
Sounds good.
I can't believe how great this paint came out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out and seeing it in the sun.
Yeah. Why'd you want to stop here?
It's my turn.
Very well then.